We tend to feel like we've made all kinds of progress when we focus on that G letter. I mean, you can hear talking, mentioned Michael Sam, Jason Collins, Derek Gordon, like not a ton of mention about like athlete and the perspective and the struggles that they have, which I think are still very real and still a ton of hurdles within Division I athletics, actually all divisions, and even at the pro level. So I think that certainly we've come a long way in the last couple of years, but I think that's specifically also looking at the G really closely as opposed to the T. And I know you were mentioning too, but I think
I actually would be really interested. I don't want to segue immediately into the changing dynamic of negative recruiting, for instance, in college, and particularly in women's sports. It's been, I thought, for me last year at the Nike Summit, it was fascinating to learn more about it. But that in the way in which now the pushback again is coming from the kids who are saying, like, I don't want to go to this school that would negatively recruit.
Yeah, like, and the marriages should kids get it.
Yeah, and I think like that being like an area in which I understand well, like women's sports, I think absolutely the negative recruiting that used to exist is less frequent because kids just don't care or aren't putting up with it. But still the gatekeepers in women's sports are the athletic directors, and they are 90% white men still. So while you can take out that one element of negative recruiting, you're still talking about hundreds and probably thousands of women who won't come out because they still correctly believe that it will impact their ability to get jobs. And that's like a very, very real thing. And so I feel like that gets under talked about. Is that a word? Under talked. Let's do it. It is, yeah. Yeah. I feel like, especially at a place like ESPN, we do such a phenomenal job talking about the Michael Sams and the Jason Collins and
well, we haven't asked much about Christina Brenner, and I think that's a legitimate complaint and concern. So.
Yeah.
I have two questions that sort of bring this together. One is what you said, and the other is what you said. Why is Michael Sam such a big deal? I mean, what is the moment of this significance? And I asked that question in the context of, is this, we have the tail end of is this a piece of the movement? Is it behind the movement, the LGBT movement? Why is this such a big deal?
Sports has just been the biggest wall to get past. You had the military, you had past the military. Sports was always that huge hurdle to get over. I think the whole, I don't know how the three of you were speaking, the whole book saying how he came out before the draft. Honestly, it surprised me. You simply, you're risking your livelihood. He was potentially a third-round draft choice pre-draft. He did have a bad combine, I think it was called. He did, not a great combine. He dropped to 7th, nearly not drafted. So, part of me says that, the gay factor certainly played in on that. But it was, that was his whole strategy was, if you're going to draft me, you're going to know everything about me. There's no hiding at it. So I think it certainly impacted him. But the way he's approaching everything now, and he certainly's got a management team behind him, I think they're doing great. He's just, he's focused now, and I think he's made it clear that he just wants to play, period.
But which leads me to my question that you raised. What is the difference between men and women's sports? What makes the women's sports piece so difficult?
Well,
is there something underneath?
Well, I think women are facing another layer of marginalization, obviously. I think when men come out, I'm repeating this, but when men come out, they're shattering a stereotype, and that certainly has one layer, one set of difficulties to overcome. And women are reinforcing a stereotype, and that's like, that comes with a different set of circumstances. And I think that we always want to perpetuate this myth, women's sports is just a lesbian paradise or something. numbers, you know, one out coach in Division I women's basketball, 1 out of 365. You know, we have Brittany Griner, and we have Simone Augustus, we have a couple people, but we still have a climate where women do not feel empowered to come out. And why? Probably because of this idea of like not wanting to be that thing that you had always been said that you must be in sports. And being around, just from personal, being around teammates who maybe are straight, but have also lived with that stereotype and don't want you to reinforce it, because then it's just another piece where they have to go over the top to express their, you know, their heterosexuality. So I think all of those factors that play in, we don't really understand the dynamic and how they impact women in sports as much as, you know, certainly men are also facing their own set of challenges to like break that stereotype too.
But this also goes with something I think we were discussing earlier, just between ourselves, was just also the layers of identity and the question of like, you know, I think lesbian athletes have the same like desire as I think any athlete, and I think this was something that, you know, I really learned from talking to people, whether it was Billy Bean or Wade Davis or you name it. If you're a professional athlete, you don't self-identify first as gay or, you know, as lesbian. You self-identify as an athlete, and your focus is really on your career as an athlete. Your sexuality, you know, that's, you know, my dating life, whatever, you know, that's a side of, that's part of your life, but is it really germane to your ability to execute as a player? Not really. And can you blame a lot of athletes for preferring to not have to talk about that or not have to share that? Because it really isn't relevant. I mean, they already have the media in their face 24/7, you know, particularly in baseball. I mean, you know, you spend so much time around, you know, writers in the first place. Why would you also want to get into your dating life with these people who you have to be guarded around or feel you have to be guarded around all the time already? So you really want to then also, you know, add this extra layer of like, you know, personal space. I totally respect that, you know, a lot of people are just like, I don't want to get into that with you. And, you know, I'm kind of focused. I mean, being a professional athlete is exceptionally hard. It takes a huge amount of work. And anything that distracts from it, it's one of the reasons why, you know, like I think what's happened in other sports like basketball and football, to have somebody like Jason Collins or to have somebody like Michael Sam coming in, you know, or Brittany Griner coming in, you know, like saying like I'm out. You know, from my perspective, you know, on the baseball team, it's interesting that nobody's come out yet, even though theoretically baseball's got, you know, what sounds like a pretty good setup as far as a network of support for anybody who does want to come out publicly. When in sports year does a baseball player come out and not be a distraction to his teammates? I think that's a fundamental question that a lot of athletes have to deal with. Is like, you know, because baseball's year round effectively.
Yeah.
You're either
I haven't watched
baseball
baseball in the last couple years, but also isn't the energy in baseball like don't be a personality?
Yeah.
As opposed to basketball, where it's like you can be a personality. Your whole point is to be a personality. In baseball, it's like if you even like cross the line into being a personality, you get like reined back in.
If you skip over the lines in a certain way, people look at you funny.
Right.
So I mean, it's like implicating this team identity and this like, you know, erasure of identity within that concept. Which again, then like, why do you want to be the one who then steps out and says like, well, you know, I'm also fabulous on my own time. Lovely, but you know, like if that becomes problematic, I mean, I think there are certain clubhouse cultures that might be more welcoming than others. There are certainly certain front offices that I think are more than ready to embrace having an out, you know, gay man in a club, you know, on the team. But you know, again, how many guys are going to know that they're going to be with a particular team long enough and know, you know, like again, I think it's something that thinking ahead about like when is the right time to come out. If you were a baseball player or a football player, man or woman, or any sport, you know, like where do you fit that in where it doesn't negatively affect your earning potential, your career, your opportunities, and to get the kind of support that you're going to need. I mean, you're putting a team in a particular situation, and nobody wants to be the problem child. You don't want to give people another reason to forget. And I think Michael Sam's draft status is a great representation of like, you know, the potential threat. Is that all of a sudden, you know, people are like, and you've heard some of the really dumb things that, what was it Herm Edwards or who said, yeah, who said some of this stuff, you know, really stupid things afterwards about like, well, I wouldn't want to be with it. but you're willing to work with Michael Vick and that media distraction, but you're not willing to work with a stand-up guy who just wants to play basketball or play football in this case. If you're cool with Michael Vick doing really atrocious things, then why would you have a problem with a guy who just wants to show up and do his job?
Are there particular sports that you think are more likely to find acceptance than others? I mean, I was thinking about, I asked that question in the context of Michael Sam, and that football is very touchy. I mean, it's very body contacty, where baseball isn't unless you hit somebody pitching, or basketball you crash into. Is that a piece of this too?
Well, I think that there's something also, you know, we haven't really even touched upon like individual sports, you know?
Yes.
I think that that's
Well,
also.
the tennis would be another one.
Right, right, I mean.
There's no teamwork there.
Right, I mean, unless you're playing doubles.
Right,
I don't know.
right.
But,
Yeah, that piece is the teamwork piece is what I'm getting.
right, but I think that there is something interesting in the fact that, you know, I mean, Martina Navratilova, granted, the circumstances weren't great, but she's been out for decades,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, same thing with Billie Jean King, out for decades. I don't know, but then again, at the same time, on the men's side, you know, we're not seeing that in individual sports, which is kind of interesting, like gymnastics. Come on, guys. Like, but